Hey there, my name is Kay Moon and I'm a Western astrologer and Twin Flame channel, and this is a video about the Capricorn new moon taking place December 30th, 5:26 p.m. if you happen to be on the eastern seaboard of the United States. Welcome back for another All Signs update. Super excited to be here and do this with you. Here is our new moon at that ninth degree of Capricorn, showing out and giving us a lot of structure, especially because it's trine to Capricorn's planetary governor, Saturn, not trine, sextile. This 60-degree angle opens up a lot of solidity, structure, boundaries, and groundedness for us as we move into the new moon's energy and as the new moon's energy wanes. We also see that this new moon is having an interesting conversation here with Pholus, an energy that not many astrologers talk about. He's one of the centaurs. He represents collateral damage, toxicity, and poison. So I'm going to talk to you about how you can avoid this energy if it seems to really be potent for your particular sign. We additionally see conjunction with Pallas, which is a very self-protective energy, which is great. We love to see that, especially when Pholus is in the mix. So, very interesting new moon. We've got a loose square to Chiron there inside of Aries. It's going to open up perhaps some a little bit of low self-esteem, a chance, a sense of like woundedness, abandonment, or rejection, or frustration with themes of that nature coming from other people at this new moon. And we see a semi-sextile as well to Pluto here at this new moon, which opens up a little bit of ending energy, some closure energy, which is, appropriate. We're closing out 2024 together. We also see a square to Makemake here, the shaman's asteroid in Libra, bringing up a bit of learning from relationships in the past, partnerships in the past, where things have been unbalanced and unequal in the past. We do now have a sense of where that doesn't work for us and where things might need to be restructured at this new moon. We also see a sextile to Haumea in Scorpio. Here is Haumea, the creation goddess, there inside of Scorpio, opening up some creativity. This is a new moon, so and new moons portend new beginnings. It's going to open up some new beginning energy for us. This is a rather sobering close to the year. The year had a lot of fanfare and activity, especially in the springtime, with some very potent transits for manifestation. Now that we're at the close of the year, we're closing out with Saturn speaking to a new moon. Saturn's a very structure giving, boundary making, restoring of integrity sort of energy by the removal of anything that compromises that integrity. As the main planetary influence on this new moon, as we close the year, really is going to allow us to be reflective of what didn't work for us in 2024 so that we can leave it in 2024 before we head into a new year together. I've mentioned this in the Lightworker energy updates, at least the last two of them, that many of you may have felt like this year began, or the 2025 year began early. Things like New Year's resolutions, things like commitments to yourself, things you want to let go of, things you want to take on. You may have felt really spurred to begin those things in November and December of 2024. Totally okay if you're only feeling that energy now. This new moon does seem to indicate, hey, this is where we need to turn over a new leaf, bring new structure to our lives before we walk into 2025 together. If you could use any support with this, you can absolutely book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Super excited to say the schedule is a little bit more open now. We see an appointment on this coming Wednesday. We also have a 30-minute appointment this coming Friday. Next week, there's a Wednesday and Friday availability as well because the schedule isn't as heavily packed as it was in November and December. I won't be doing as many mini readings going forward because there is bookable time in the calendar now. So if you would like to book, now's the time to schedule. Those half-hour readings might be all you need just to get a quick look at the overview for you for 2025 in love, money, and health. Can't wait to do it with you. Happy New Year, guys. Really excited for doing a new year together. Thank you so much for being with me over the last year. If you just joined, years, if you've been here, it means so much to me. Every like, every share, and every subscribe. It allows me to do what I love and for you to get something you need. I love creating win-win situations with people. So thank you for being here. Link to book a reading is below this video in the description box. But for now, let's get into this all signs. We're going to start with Aries. If you're new, welcome. Let me show you how you can follow along and get a sense of which chart I'm on. I'm going to point out some about key astrology as we go. You'll see the sign that I'm working with right up here as I go. So if you have to go away and come back, you absolutely can. Typically, there are some folks who will timestamp these videos. And if you feel guided to do that, by all means, please have at it. I do not do that. So thank you to those who do. Aries, for you, this new moon is taking place here in your career sector. Right there, we see Folis in the mix and all the other players that we spoke about. This could be the beginning of a new chapter in your career where you're kind of clear. There's certain things you're ready to let go of. Intuitively, you may even feel a sense of, I have to let certain things go, put certain things down career-wise if I'm going to be able to grow. It could be a very bittersweet moment for you as you recognize that there are certain things that are just no longer right for you in a career sector, whether you own a business or whether you work for somebody in their business or on their dream. This could be the crossroads for you where you recognize time for me to turn over a new leaf and go in a new direction. There's a small indication that you could be ignoring a vital intuitive hit here for some. And for others, this is where you start to get some clarity about an intuitive hit that you cannot continue to ignore any longer when it does come to your career. So really important to pay attention there. With that Pholus energy in the 10th position from the Aries energy in the chart, one thing it does make sense to kind of warn you about is if there's been any environmental changes in your career space. Let's say they got new cubicles, new chairs, maybe a new air freshener. If it's irritated you physically in terms of your physical health, just pay attention to that. That fullest energy, as I mentioned, can represent toxicity and poisons. There could be something if you have sudden onset allergies or sickness, there could be something in the workplace environment that you just need to change up in order to restore balance and equilibrium to your physical health and well-being. Alternatively, that interpretation could lend itself to taking on a career pathway that in the long run does tend to undermine your well-being, specifically mental health. It looks like one of the things I'd strongly caution you about is to pay attention to any red flags as we move through this period or intuitive hunches that say, hey, maybe this isn't for you. Chances are in the fullness of time, those red flags will turn out to be correct. Honor that intuition, Aries. You need any support, you know where to find me. Book with me over at kmoonastro.com. We can look at the longevity of anything that started in this period of time, where change points are, and how you can move through it for optimal longevity of your career and finances. Let's talk about your love life. Love is represented for you by your opposite sign, Libra. This sees the south node at the tail end of that sign at the first degree. And finally, after about a year and a half worth of work of purging and cleaning out and releasing in love, you are at the end of that chapter. And if you've had, as an Aries, any trouble getting love to land in the last year and a half, This South Node transit through Libra could have been a big piece of why. Anytime the South Node transits through a sign, it allows us to move through a clean out, a flushing out of everything pertaining to that sign. Collectively, this has been the sign of Libra, which deals with partnerships. Personally, for you, Aries, this is your Libra governs your relationship sector as the governing sign of your relationship sector. This would have seen some old people come up so that they could come out of your life. This also could be the release of certain patterns mentally, emotionally, out of your love life that really aren't yours. Could have been conditioning, could have been family oriented at this new moon. This new moon allows you to become that who and what you want to be in your love life, not necessarily anything that you've inherited or legacy in terms of patterns that you lived. This new moon's going to allow you to put that down so that you can pick up the love life you really want to have. There may be some shocks and surprises in the love department for all of us collectively at this new moon, but we certainly see that Uranus square Venus, Uranus opposite Juno at this particular new moon, not talking to the new moon, but certainly in the sky at the same time, opening up some love surprises for you, Aries. If there is a love surprise, it does seem to come through the friendship sector, the hopes, goals, wishes, and dreams sector. There could be a moment that creates a bit of tension and discomfort with one of these people that has you really reflect and say, you know what? This is what I want, or this is what I don't want. Again, there's some indication here that if there is some level of discomfort or awkward moment, you are able to put things in their right place with people, even if it came from you. This Saturn in Pisces in the intuitive sector of your chart will have you know what to say and what to do in order to put things right. If you're the progenitor of any discomfort, but certainly if somebody else is, it'll also help you establish appropriate boundaries so that people know what to expect and what not to expect from you going forward. If you are in a couple, you could see some friends perchance say some things or do some things that create some interesting dialogue and conversation for you and your partner with this energy in the sky. But again, if it is a friend who happens to overstep or say something really awkward, it gives you an opportunity to have the necessary conversation to move things in a positive direction in your relationship. You got this, Aries. Moving on, if you've heard something that resonates, definitely hit that like button and subscribe. We're going to now take a look at this new moon for Taurus. Taurus, for you, this new moon takes place in a position in the sky that has to do with long distance travel, education, and spirituality, specifically the religious side of it and religious organizations. With the new moon here, you are getting the green light to travel, Taurus. If you have felt like going somewhere, this specifically speaks more to long distance travel than sort of a weekend trip or a long travel rather than, sort of like going, around the corner. It's also an indication here that you may find it's the right time to relocate. For some of you, you may be feeling an urge specifically to move far away from where you live or move overseas. If you're getting that urge, this particular new moon gives the green light for that, especially if it's going to be the right thing to do for your career with the way Saturn is positioned in the location of hopes, goals, wishes, and dreams. It does seem like any relocation unfolding at this time may require either a level of downsizing, either in size or location of where you're going to live, or downsizing maybe the dream of it so that you can maybe start small and then grow into something that has a lot of potential in the long term. Step by step, Taurus, you can have it all. Now, this could also be indicative of a move toward a goal or an aspiration, but with Saturn speaking to this new moon, there's a lot of being needing to take a look at what's the fine print, what's the bottom line, what's the contract say, what am I signing? And can I afford it financially? Is this in right alignment with my dreams, and is it in right alignment with my finances? This seems to be the conversation at this new moon for those relocating or starting to pursue a goal that may have been in your heart for a long time. You may even see for some Taurians an educational pathway open up here that might have been closed. So, those of you who have been either wanting to study abroad or needing or wanting to embark on a path of higher education, if it hasn't worked out before, I have mentioned in previous lunar updates, reapplying during certain periods can really help. Reapplication in this new moon window does seem like it can get you where you want to go. So, really awesome stuff for you. Let's take a look at your love life. Definitely book with me over at kmoonastro.com if you heard something that resonates there or need some greater insight into decisions for 2025. Your love life is governed by the sign of Scorpio. And with Pluto finally moving into a new sign, the governing planet, for a nice 20-year stay, congratulations. You are at the beginning of a new chapter in love after a tumultuous couple of years with Pluto switching signs. A lot of closing you may feel at this point, a lot of shedding, a lot of things that you're letting go of with Ceres speaking with Pluto, both of those representing endings and closures. There may be the death or ending of a chapter in your love life that may have come with a lot of deep transformational work, perhaps even a lot of shadow work. If you're coming out of the shadow work so that you can start, Taurus, to live in more of the light, kudos to you. That's exactly what this was meant to do. But if you felt like this has been disorienting, again, kudos to you. It is a big difference and a big change from Pluto in Capricorn to Pluto in Aquarius. You may feel a huge urge for greater freedom to do things differently in love, whether you are in a committed bond or you're seeking new love. This impulse and energy is there for both groups of people. You may also have, as we go through this period, a very strong, passionate connection may arise with Venus semi-sextile Pluto inside of your career sector. And because Venus is also having that conversation with Uranus, also with Juno, your love sector is one where if there is something weird, uncomfortable, or awkward to pop off during this new moon period, it does seem to be with a coworker or a colleague, most likely, or in the work setting. I'd be very mindful. You're one of a few signs here that I'd be very mindful of anything you've put in writing or recording, text or email or Zoom or otherwise around romance in the workplace. There could be some things that come to light in a way that could be potentially uncomfortable. If something like that does happen about you, surrounding you, or you are the person, again, there's this wonderful Saturn energy that does seem to put the kibosh on anything that's gossipy or rumory or things that just seem to work a little bit awkwardly at this time. It restores boundary structures and integrity to anything awkward that pops off in the love sector at work. Okay. Um, there does seem to be a breakthrough overall that's occurring within this time frame. For you, Taurus, that confirms you're in a new chapter in your love life. So congratulations. A lot of the woes of the last 14 years when it comes to love are well and truly over. If you heard something that resonates, definitely hit that like, share, and subscribe button. Always helpful when you do that. Let's talk about this new moon for Gemini. Gemini, for you, this new moon takes place in the sector of the sky that deals with what we call other people's money. We're talking about loans, credit, mortgages, inheritances, lottery winnings, things of this nature, and grants. For some of you, this is where you take on or start, since it's a new moon, you start some sort of debt or loan or grant. You could win the lottery. We just saw here in the United States, one of the biggest lotteries we've ever seen. Somebody won, I guess it was like $1 billion. I don't know. I was halfway paying attention in the airport. I wouldn't be surprised if that person was a Gemini or had a lot of Gemini placements. Gemini, you of all people have the opportunity to come into money seemingly out of nowhere through one of these sources that I just mentioned. I would just be very mindful, especially if you're taking on a loan with the fullest energy at this new moon. Read the fine print. Make sure you understand the interest rates and the repay dates. With Fullest in this position, money taken on that needs to be repaid could have some pretty steep terms that could undermine the goal with which you had and the goal you had in mind when you took out the money to begin with. So just make sure you're checking fine print on everything that you happen to, utilize for other people's money. Taxes are also covered under this particular sector of the sky, so you could get some news around taxes as well, things that need to be repaid. But certainly with Saturn in the mix, this does seem to indicate if there is anything that shows itself, the money will be there to help you move yourself along. You may need to downsize. Some of you may be getting news that you got a loan, it's just not quite the size you wanted or needed for school or for home or for anything else. If that's the case, trust it. There's probably a reason you weren't able to get more of that particular money with this kind of configuration in the sky. You may not really want more of that particular money. There could be other sources at other lunations that are going to be financially more helpful and healthy in the long run. Okay. Now, this could also be for some of you the beginning of a secret that may burden you until you get it off your chest or be toxic to you. So really be careful of what others tell you or what you feel like you cannot tell others at this time, especially in the work or career field. It does seem like any secret at this time comes with a very heavy cost to you. For a small few of you, this could be the passing or transition of somebody close to you at this new moon. Okay. If you'd like to talk through more of the specifics pertaining to your life, Gemini, especially overall with regard to 2025, you know where to book with me. Link is below this video. Let's talk about your love life. Love for you is governed by the sign of Sagittarius and with Mercury direct, hooray! But still opposite Jupiter. Boo. This configuration could have you in the light having some great conversations with people where conversations need to be had in order to open up understanding. This configuration can certainly help that. However, on the flip side, and I've spoken about this at previous lunations, Jupiter, Mercury in communication, mouth can be moving, but truth may not be coming out, unfortunately. Sometimes you can see a little bit of red flag communication behavior. Jupiter opposite Mercury, especially in the love department where it is for you. Thankfully, Mercury is direct. And so if that's the case, any red flags came out over the Mercury retrograde, now's a great time to ask, check, or double check for intel and information. This is where you may find some truth reveals itself that previously may have been unknowable or unseeable. Definitely pay attention, ask good questions, Gemini. For others, you may see that um, this is where you get the opportunity to travel with someone you love, or you may meet someone while traveling, definitely as you're moving through airports. consider this a time where you might want to put that green light on, say hello, greet people with a smile if you're looking for love. This configuration lends itself to, an innocent chance conversation leading to something more. Now, for a small few of you, I do see there could be some sort of work-related affair that could open up at this interval, at this lunation. So just be mindful of that. If that's something that you want or don't want, that energy for it is certainly here. You don't have to take it just because the energy for it is there. But also with Neptune in communication, with that Mercury, with that Jupiter, again, there's some indication of exaggeration, lack of truth, and just straight up lies in the air. So just be mindful. Again, you're communicating as clearly as possible. You're getting clear answers from the people you're dealing with. And alternatively, you can certainly use this energy creatively in partnership to daydream and plan and set intentions at this time of year with your loved one if that is something that you would like to do. Gemini, if you heard something that resonates, definitely hit that like button on the way out. Really appreciate you. And share this with a Gemini friend if you know someone who could use this advice and guidance. Let's take a look at Cancer. Cancer, for you, the new moon takes place here in your seventh house of commitment and partnership. In your love sector, this could be the start of a new alliance or partnership romantically. Absolutely. For some, this could be a business partnership. But it does look like it may be long distance for some, with Saturn speaking to the new moon from the long distance sector of the sky. And for others, you may meet this person in education, travel, or religious related settings. This is a chance to have a new beginning in love, whether you're coupled and looking for a reset in your connection or single and looking for new love altogether. This new moon provides the energy for that. One of my favorite things about it is Saturn speaking to this new moon. And for you in particular, Cancer, this mitigates some of the challenging aspects going on with Venus and Juno speaking to Uranus in the sky. For you, this allows love to come in a very stable, consistent, grounded way. Maybe very aspirational. It also may be quite spiritual. And so if you're finding that your love interest has a very spiritual side to them, it's going to make sense for you. At this new moon, they may even invite you to do some travel or spiritual or religious thing with them. I'd say even if you normally shy away from it, maybe say yes, just so you can get to know why this is important to them, how they interact with it, and what it can do, what it's doing for them as a way of getting to know them and learning how they like to be loved. Now, for those of you who are in a committed bond, like I said, travel does seem to be indicated here. Also, an opportunity to think about where you want to grow next together. Could even be an opportunity to talk about plans or intentions for higher education in the new year. Okay. Let's take a look at the other areas of life for you. If you need some help thinking through the love components, Cancer, it's a great opportunity to book a reading. Link to do that's below this video. In the career sector for you, Cancer is governed by the sign of Aries. We see Aries ruling planet Mars retrograde here in the sector that deals with earned income. You may find that you are, because Chiron is also in your career sector, speaking to Mercury in your service sector. Cancer, you may find that you are the guiding light and wisdom for somebody coming up behind you who's looking for some mentorship, some guidance on how they can move beyond limitations that may be self-set when it comes to their career. Alternatively, you may find that you need to self-coach yourself out of limitations you've created for yourself when it comes to your own career, so that you can be in a place of taking advantage of opportunities that may come in now from your past past. We see the Mars retrograde in the earned income sector, potentially bringing something back from the past, either a creative project if you work for yourself, or a role in a job if you work for somebody else, as a way of earning money throughout the Mars retrograde. Definitely would take a level of confidence to step into this. I certainly see that with Chiron speaking to Mercury here. But as you step into it, it does look like this feeds you and feeds your confidence in a way that if something else in the past undermined your confidence, this Mars retrograde, digging into a past project or past role, seems to bring the confidence back for you, reminds you of who you truly are and what you're truly capable of. So I would say dig in and go for it at this time. Okay. Great stuff for you, Cancer. Thank you so much. Please hit that like button and subscribe if you're new. Forward this to a fellow Cancerian if they could use this sort of guidance. Let's go ahead and look at this new moon now for Leo. Leo, this new moon takes place in the sector of the sky for you that has to do with day-to-day living, health and well-being, and the people that you hire or people who hire you, bosses and higher-ups, direct reports, and employees. If you've gotten sick or suddenly ill, this is one of the placements for that fullest energy that I mentioned in the introduction. That could see an environmental factor playing a role in what can seem like an illness or a allergy that maybe seems to have come out of nowhere. With Pholus in this position in the sky, speaking to this new moon, if something developed, definitely check anything in your environment that you've recently added that could play a role in an environmental allergy or illness that starts around the time of this new moon, and eliminate any irritants. Even if it seems illogical, experiment and see if removing what you suspect may be the culprit helps you. Outside of this new moon could see you hiring somebody new in your business, starting a new health and wellness routine, or volunteering and otherwise being of service in your community or at your job. You could even find that you're taking on somebody's work at your job just to be helpful. Doesn't seem long term, but it does seem like it is something that if you take this on at this time, in the fullness of time, it does seem like it helps your career long term, but you may need to set yourself up or position yourself to ask for compensation in the new year if you're taking on dual responsibilities for somebody who has departed, as an expansion of your role if you're working for somebody else. Okay. Now, let's talk about love, Leo. Here's Venus speaking to the governor of your love sector, and Juno also speaking to the governor of your love sector, which is Uranus. Uranus, as the governor of your love sector, could see some potentially weird, uncomfortable, and awkward, surprising situations that show up in the love department. Now, for you, this could come as a result of some family dealings, given where Juno sits, or interacting with other couples, given where Venus is sitting. What's interesting here is that this uncomfortable moment in love could have feelings get revealed that maybe weren't necessarily meant to be revealed. It could be a secret that gets revealed or a love affair that gets revealed. It wasn't necessarily a part of your plan. It does look like you're going to be able to quickly recover if this makes for any uncomfortable moment in work or family or with other couples. Pay attention again to any communications over text, over email, or recorded through devices to avoid any discomfort in your love life at the moment. Okay. Now, let's go ahead and take a look at Virgo. Definitely hit that like button, Leo, if you heard something that resonates. You know where to find me if you want to go deeper in a personal reading and look at your love life in 2025. Virgo, for you, this new moon takes place in a sector of the sky that has to do with your creativity, manifestation, children, both your inner child, but also children that you may have or be trying to conceive. This does look like fertility is on your side at this new moon. Because of the aspect from Saturn in the commitment sector, this fertility energy does seem to favor people who are coupled. So if you are in a couple looking for either to adopt a child or get pregnant, this energy is certainly helpful and constructive for that. I'd also say there will be other lunations throughout the year. If you're doing this as a solo parent, other lunations throughout the year that will favor you, but this one does seem to favor the couples. There's also an interesting energy here for those of you in partnerships that also want to move beyond love and get into business together. This particular new moon does seem to be a perfect new moon for planning, perfect new moon for hanging out that shingle together, getting product on the market together. It does seem to bring things into alignment as an alliance romantically and business wise. Okay. Um, there are also, for some of you, could be something where if you have children who are of dating age, this is where you may find that your child has a romantic young love interest that may be new. And so you'll have the opportunity to showcase how supportive you are as a parent as they embark on this journey of their life, whether they are young, kind of teenagers, or whether they are adult children moving into a new sector of their love life. This is your opportunity as a parent to really be supportive to children in the ways that they're growing as beings who can have their own love lives. Okay. Speaking of love, Virgo, let's talk about your love life. We do see your love life here governed by Neptune, tail end of Pisces, certainly also governed by Jupiter, mid there of Gemini. This configuration with Saturn square Jupiter as well. There is an interesting energy here around balance for you, Virgo, when it comes to love and really finding the right balance when it comes to your work life and your love life. There could be a lot of communications that need to take place at this time. Some things that may even come out sideways for those of you already in a committed bond around what you feel like you need. If there are any awkward conversations for couples around what you feel like you need, communications that come out sideways, that's all right. Utilize the opportunity with Mercury direct to lean into what you heard, see if you can step out of how it might have been said and think through what is the content of the communication, what is actually being asked for, so that you can support your partner. You can deal with how it was said separately. I strongly recommend that if it was said in a way that was rude or disrespectful, of course. But see if you can separate what was said from how it was said, because this energy here does seem to indicate that there could be some incongruence or discrepancy between what's getting said and the tone or the way in which it's communicated, Virgo. And if that's the case, communication and conversation will go a long way in assisting you in getting back on the same page, whether you're coupled or single. Now, for the singles, if you're looking for love, this does seem to be indicative of some be potentially finding someone through siblings, cousins, and neighbors. Potentially, there could be some imbalanced power dynamic, someone you hire or hired you. Love could come through that avenue. And also, I'm seeing if that's the case, it does look like it, again, something weird could go on here. But the Saturn energy will really help things get back in alignment. Again, pay attention to both content and the structure, like how things were said, so that that way you can address both things without getting too triggered yourself, Virgo, if anyone can parse the details and handle the nuances, it's you. If you could hit that like button for me, Virgo, I would love that. Thank you so much. Libra, let's take a look at this new moon for you. It's taking place in the sector of the sky that has to do with home and family. We see here uh, you more than any of the other signs could be buying a home, moving or relocating or redecorating or renovating a home with this sort of energy. Pay attention if you have any sudden onset allergies or illness with Pholus speaking to this new moon. There could be something inside the home environment creating that sort of biological irritation at this point. And it could be something very simple, such as, oh, I changed my coffee creamer and something in this creamer just doesn't agree with me, to something more major, such as I bought a couch and the couch has industrial chemicals that are off-gassing, right? Paying attention to these sort of things, if you have had any sudden onset illness or allergy, and really removing any irritant or switching things up or just experimenting to double check if you are not sure, can go a long way for you at this time, Libra. All right. Um, Now for others, this is where you may be re-signing a lease, moving into a new home, starting a new chapter in your home space. Because the governor of your home space is in the sector of day-to-day living, I would say for some of you, this is even where this new moon marks maybe your first new moon living with a partner or somebody that you're in a love connection, love bond with. And for others, this could be you starting a new home-based business or working from home as we go into the new year. But let's dig deeper into that love sections, shall we, Libra? If you need a little help, definitely book with me over at kmoonastro.com. There are appointments available this week. But let's talk about love. With the governor of your love sector retrograde here in your friendship sector, going back over here to your career sector, it's also your colleague sector. You may hear from people from your past through February when Mars turns direct. Now, likely this is going to be somebody romantically from your past that there could have been a flirtation or a romance or a liaison with, who came through either your friendship circle. Maybe they weren't single at the time, now they are. Maybe you weren't single at the time and now you are, and this is you two reconnecting. Likewise, you may also find that a colleague could show themselves and show romantic interest. Somebody you've known for quite some time could show romantic interest as we head into this new moon, and it could take you potentially a little bit by surprise. Um, Especially because of the way we see Uranus speaking to Juno, speaking to Venus here. Love surprises are definitely in the air. It does look like it comes with a slight bit of either discomfort, awkwardness, or a surprise. It's like you just didn't see it coming. If anybody can handle it with grace, Libra, it's you. And find the diplomatic way to get on the same page with somebody if you don't return their feelings or they don't return yours. If anybody can find their way to smooth things out, it's going to be a Libra. With that in mind, I would also say if you're motivated with this Mars retrograde to get in touch with somebody from your past and share or reveal romantic feelings, this Mars retrograde does seem to be indicative of you taking that sort of initiative at this time. It is certainly supportive. I might wait a little bit until Venus gets maybe into Pisces in the next couple of weeks, maybe mid-January. But that if you can't wait, I would trust your life. It does seem like things could go an unintentional way at this point, but if anybody can take something that's gone in a way that you didn't expect and move things on track in a way that works for all people involved, Libra, that's going to be you. So good luck. Wishing you the best with that. And if you could use any insight in your love life, definitely book with me over at Moon Astro. Hit that like button for me, Libra. Goes a long way in circulating the content and getting it to other Libras who might need it. Scorpio, this new moon takes place for you in the sector that deals with siblings, cousins, neighbors, consciousness, and communication. Now, for some of you, this is where you may form a business alliance with some of these people, siblings, cousins, or neighbors, or start to have talks about your work or work related things with some of these people. If you are looking for work, you may find it from one of these people. A sibling, cousin, or neighbor may have a friend of a friend who knows something about where you can apply for a job if you ask for that introduction at this time. Now, there's also some indication here with Saturn here in your manifestation and creativity and children sector. You may find that there's opening up of creativity for those of you who are creative Scorpios. You may have some big ideas, things you're clear that you want to manifest, lots of insights coming in for you about steps and actions you can take in your career at this time. Definitely be sure to harness those intuitive hits. It does look like they are meant to be strategically coming in at this time to assist you in a step-by-step manner to getting where you want to go career-wise. All right. Let's talk about your love life now. And if you need any help with your career or anything else in the new year, book with me over at Moon Astro. Link to do that is below this video. Here is your love sector. It is governed by the sign of Taurus, and we do see Juno and Venus, governors of Taurus, in an uncomfortable conversation with Uranus, who's already in your love sector. So, surprises in love, shocks, things that you weren't expecting definitely seem like they could show themselves. There could be somebody who's already in a partnership saying or doing some things that are indicative of their interest in you. It's up to you to do with that what you will, Scorpio. I also see here there's some indication that something unusual could happen in the arena of family, given where Venus sits in the sky. For those of you who have either blended families or in-laws, this I'm seeing there being some sort of maybe moment of discomfort around these people pertaining to your relationship. Utilize this as an opportunity to make sure you and your partner are on the same page about your values and things that matter to you, regardless of what other people think or say or express about the two of you to each other or to people around you. Outside of that, I am seeing that, there could be some sort of, unusualness. It could even come from you around your family when it comes to love, whether you kind of, give somebody the brush off, sort of like, hey, why are you asking me about that? Like, I already told you where I stand, and maybe you come off a little harsh. Or alternatively, maybe a family member wants to set you up with somebody if you're looking for love and that person is in your book a no way. Find a way to be as diplomatic as you can, and certainly clean anything up that you might need to if communication came out in a hard way with Saturn speaking to the new moon in your communication sector around love related items. Okay. If you need any support with this, Scorpio, you know where to find me. Definitely hit that like button for me, Scorpio. Helps the content circulate. Let's talk about this new moon for Sagittarius now. Sagittarius, this new moon takes place in your sector that deals with earned income. Now, for you, you may see some new money come in at this new moon pertaining to money you make and money you spend. Now, some of you, I would say this has a lot to do with either getting a raise, if you're working for somebody, starting a new stream of income, if you work for yourself, a new line of revenue. I would say that this is also going to serve you, this new moon, if you're going to do things that make your body feel good and look good and boost your self-esteem. This new moon speaks to finding a way to do that in a way that really helps you feel grounded. Some of you may even be starting some at-home workouts and routines with Saturn in that sector of the sky, uh, opening up some level of discipline around and commitment to feeling good in your own body, which is awesome, Sagittarius. Good for you. Let's take a look at your love life. If you need any help with your goals for 2025, Sag, definitely book with me at Kmoon Astro. Link to do that is below this video. Love sector governed by Gemini. Mercury, the ruling planet, is in your sign, Sagittarius, but it is opposite Jupiter. And we would call this what mutual reception astrologically, where Jupiter is in Gemini and as a governing planet of Sag. Mercury is in Sagittarius as the governing planet of Gemini. This gives these two a little bit of harmony and understanding, which sometimes they don't always have. But this also makes for some interesting times when it comes to your love life. We see Neptune speaking to both of them, Saturn as well. Well, Neptune more so speaking to Mercury rather than Jupiter, but Saturn speaking to both of them. There could be some odd conversations that you have with people where it may seem like you're having a Jekyll and Hyde moment where somebody said something or did something one way and now they're coming off a different way. You may also find that there were some red flags in communication, that as you're coming out of the Mercury retrograde, you're feeling inclined to double check, or somebody said something and you're like, wait, that doesn't line up with what you said when Mercury was retrograde or Mercury was in shadow. This is indeed the right time to ask some deeper questions, pay attention to your intuition, the details, and discernment when it comes to what's being said in the romantic setting because of the way Mercury and Sagittarius and Jupiter and Gemini are in opposition and having these conversations with Saturn and Neptune. Clarity may be a multi-phase forthcoming experience where multiple conversations are had that bring things into clarity. Don't be afraid to ask questions more than once, especially if you're getting more than one type of answer in love. This is really going to keep you out of situations that could cause you a lot of heartbreak down the road, to really pay attention to communication and certainly honor your own. Make sure you're being clear, direct, upfront, and straightforward as possible with the people who are seeking clarity from you at this time in love, Sagittarius. For those who are coupled, this may be where you need to rework, relook at certain conversations pertaining to home and how you're living together. You also may find that you need to have some new conversations around boundaries when it comes to family and their role in your relationship, in terms of the way they talk to both of you, talk about your partner or spouse at this time. And elsewhere, you may find that this is where you and your partner need to have some conversations about just how you're living and home more generally. Okay. So, Sagittarius, that's what I have. If anyone can take craziness in communication and formulate clarity, it is going to be you. Certainly take that on in love. Leave no stone unturned. If you need clarity, get in there and get it. Okay. It's going to save you a lot of heartbreak later. If you know a Sag who could use this information, certainly forward this to them. Definitely hit that like button. Let's take a look at Capricorn. Capricorn, this new moon for you takes place in the sector of the sky that is all yours. This is your lunar new year. Happy birthday, Cap. This is where you may make a decision to be a new version of yourself, bringing in a lot of correction to your thinking, given Saturn in the sector of the sky, that's thoughts and communications. We're ending ways of thinking and communicating that undermines you being your best self. This could also be you taking action to take care of your mental health in some new ways, especially where it's for the good of a relationship or the good of your love life, which I love to see. Caps taking care of their love life. This is awesome. Now, some of you could be having some conversations with siblings, with cousins, or with neighbors around boundaries and communication, what gets said or not said, things you will or will not participate in the world of communication for your own self's sake. If that's the case, please know that laying those boundaries down now does seem to lend itself to you having a much more fulfilling 2025. Okay. Let's talk about your love life, Capricorn. If you could use some help with any of this, definitely book a reading with me over at Moon Astro. The link to do that is below this video with sessions available this week. We do see Moon as governor of your love sector, Cap. And this is a new moon. Hooray! With this new moon. This, for some of you, with this new moon in the sign that represents your selfhood, this is where you're going to see yourself committing to yourself. And some of you may go to an extreme here and swear off love. I don't recommend that. We all need somebody and love in our lives. For others, this is where you may find that you've got a new love connection with someone who is very much like you and very much likes you, for all of who you are. So this is awesome. Couples, this is a focus on recommitting yourself to yourselves and to one another. There could be an awkward love moment that involves perhaps your child or your child's other parent if you're in a blended family scenario with Uranus in the sector that deals with kids, and speaking to Venus and Juno in the way that he is. There could also be an awkward moment with kids pertaining to money. Again, if there's anyone who can handle that sort of awkwardness, it's a Cap. With Saturn sitting here in your communication sector, I know you're really only going to say what you mean, and you're also going to mean what you say. The more truthful and honest and direct you can be in the love department with those around you at this time, the better your love life does seem to go. Okay, especially where it comes to money. If there's any awkwardness around money in the love department, just being as truthful and transparent as possible does seem to smooth things out going forward. All right. Definitely hit that like button, Capricorn. Thank you so much for being here. Let's take a look at Aquarius and this new moon now for Aquarius. This new moon takes place for you in the sector of the sky that deals with your subconscious mind and your intuition. This for you, Aquarius, is where you may hit that reset button in your subconscious mind and your intuition. You may find that your dreams are a bit over the top with fullest conjunct the new moon. Maybe there's some dreams that, don't necessarily serve you, especially if you're an Aquarius who's deep into dream interpretation and thinks every dream has meanings. I am going to warn you with fullest in this position, you may want to ease off making meaning out of every single thing you dream. Sometimes it's just us using symbols to process things that happen during the day, and it's not necessarily an intuitive message. Now, for others of you, you are going to find you are getting some intuitive messages about things that need to be happening as it pertains to your finances and your career. With Saturn sitting here in the sector that deals with finances, speaking to this new moon, you may get some hits around the way you need to structure the management of your money. Now, for some of you, this is just straight up budgeting, but for others of you, this has to do with where you're placing and directing the money that you spend. You might need to tighten up some spending. You may even be having some symbols in your dreams that you need to restructure the way you're spending your money at this time. Now, for still others of you, this could play out as starting with a new therapist or starting with something that's going to help your self-esteem in the long run. through clearing some cobwebs in the subconscious mind that really have not served you and beginning to embark on a process of restructuring the way you think about yourself and value yourself so that you can have a life that's more aligned with who you really want to be. If so, congratulations for those who are moving in that direction. This may be why, and we certainly see going into your love, the love portion of your new moon reading. This may be why love might be a little bit on a back burner for some of you Aquarians. We also see love, Uranus speaking to Venus, your governing planet, and Juno could make for some unusual, uncomfortable, awkward, or just downright weird love conversations unfolding at the moment. If you need any help with this, Aquarius, I do see this. You're in for a really tricky period of time when it comes to love, with Juno preparing to retrograde opposite Uranus for the first 6 months of this year. You can book with me over at kmoonastro.com. The link to do that is below this video so we can find the pockets of smoothness in love and what this upgrade is trying to bring to you. But at this new moon in particular, we do see Mars retrograde, the beginning of your love sector. We also see the sun in that subconscious and intuition sector. You may find this new moon sees you reviewing, mulling over and ruminating over the past. You may even see a lot of past people in your dream state. A lot of this is about you preparing to move into your next chapter and season in love. I see this looks like if you're going to bake a cake, before you put the cake in the oven, you do need to preheat it. And this looks like a season of preheating in your love life, Aquarius. For some of you, this is going to actually bring some people out from the past, and you may have already had communication from them. But for others of you, this is where you're really starting to track your own behaviors and actions. That's Mars and patterns. This is the subconscious mind sector where the new moon sits, so that you're able to see how you've ended up where you are in love and what you can do to end up where you prefer to be. Now, for those of you who are coupled, this may be a period where you and your partner need to have some deeper conversations about changes in actions and behaviors that allow you and them to both feel at home in the partnership. You may also need to do some deeper excavational work around the patterns in the partnership that haven't worked for you, if they're their patterns, or them, if they're your patterns. You may get some mirror time and reflection from your partner here that may be uncomfortable at first to see, but upon actually dealing with it, and it does indicate, like I said, you perhaps getting some support from a counselor, coach, or a psychotherapist. Upon dealing with these, you do turn over a completely new leaf in your love life. So congratulations, Aquarius. If you're seeking support from your chart, you know where to find me. Outside of that, like I said, a counselor, coach, or therapist does seem to be indicated at this new moon. Lastly, but not leastly, let's talk about Pisces. Aquarius, if you could hit that like button. This new moon for you, Pisces, takes place in the sector of the sky that has to do with friendships, colleagues, and hopes, goals, and wishes fulfilled. There could be some new friends coming in, some new colleagues here, some people that, if you have been struggling on any sort of spiritual awakening or dark night of the soul journey, this is where some new friends may show up for you. If this is the case at this time, I really want to encourage you to pay attention with this one because of the way Pholus is sitting with this new moon. There could be red flags right off the top that will only make sense later as to why you might feel, because Saturn is sitting in the sign that deals with you, Pisces, you might feel stifled, less yourself, or guarded around some of these people. Alternatively, you could find yourself on track to cultivate a dream with this new moon. But if there is any red flags around some of the people who are entering your life at this point in time, Pisces, just note them to yourself. Pay attention to your intuition. I do see it is very high at this period of time, giving you the opportunity to see for yourself over time who a person is and to trust yourself in your intuition in a way that you may not have done so in the past. For those who are using this to create and fulfill dreams, hopes, goals, and wishes, this particular new moon is going to allow you to make a commitment to yourself. Here's something I want. Here's what it's going to take to get there, and to start strategizing the plan and the steps of who you have to become in order to make it happen. If you could use some help thinking through those goals for 2025, definitely book a reading with me over at K-Moon Astro. Link to do that is below this video in the description box. Let's talk about your love sector. It is governed by the sign of Virgo. Virgo has the planetary ruler Mercury, ancient ruler here Moon. Combination here speaks to those of you single, certainly finding love perchance in the workplace. I'd say be very careful with this one because of Jupiter and Neptune in communication with that Mercury. There could be some way in which there's a few things that could happen here. One, you could just miss it. Like there could be somebody in your workplace that is crushing on you, and that Neptune energy could have you a bit oblivious or aloof, given that Neptune's in your sign. Alternatively, you could meet someone that you crush on at work, but this person, certain things about ways they act or behave or things that they say, could have you feeling like you have to hide, obscure, or frankly, lie about who you really are. Pay attention if there's anybody that you're crushing on that makes you feel like you can't be yourself in order to be with them. Chances are at this new moon, as you move forward, they may not actually look as appealing as they look now. With that being said, for those of you who have not met anyone, but you are looking to meet someone, this is an opportunity to put your best foot forward and really start to think about what kind of partnership do I want, and to live into that in present time. By doing that, it does look like you can attract someone at this new moon. Now, additionally, there is a little bit of love's awkwardness with Uranus opposite Juno, Venus here in the sky. For you, that does seem to come through either an educational setting, faith-based organization, some long-distance travel, perchance some siblings, cousins, and neighbors. It does look like with Venus in the position Venus is in, you could have some level of Freudian slip. It's totally okay though, Pisces. If things slip out and get revealed about your feelings for someone, trust the timing of this. It could be that this needs to be said and done at this time in order for things to elevate and escalate between you and another person in the fullness of time over the course of 2025. Now, if this is somebody revealing something to you in a way that makes you feel uncomfortable, certainly use the Saturnian energy in your sign to establish the boundaries you need to, especially if this is a work-related revelation. Establish the boundaries you need to secure your work setting and your work scenario. I don't necessarily see a boss coming on to you, but it does look like that's certainly possible. If that's not going to work for you professionally, then by all means take the necessary steps to secure your job, but also secure your safety. All right, that's what I have for you guys at this new moon. Let's go ahead and see here. Our full moon in Cancer on January 13th. Let's get into the first lunar update for the new year. So here's our full moon. This is my first impression of it. It's a section called First Look. I've normally included it inside of the Lightworker energy update, but I think I like having it here better inside of our all signs. So here's our full moon, 23 degrees Cancer. It is conjunct, but you guys let me know, like, everybody doesn't like change, but sometimes it's good to change things up. What do you guys think? Should we keep it here or should we put it elsewhere? Here's Mars retrograde conjunct our full moon. Full moon is also speaking to Uranus. Full moon is also speaking to Juno. Full moon is also speaking to Neptune, Chiron, and Pluto. Okay, well, I mean, what else is new, right? The theme here is a lot of change, a lot of growth, a lot of transformation, nothing staying the same, which we knew, right? We've been in this energy for some time, especially when we have lunations that are in these last 10 degrees of some of the signs. Because if you're in the last 10 degrees of some of the signs, you're going to hit Uranus, you're going to hit Chiron, you're going to hit Neptune and Pluto kind of all at the same time. Uranus, Chiron, Neptune, Pluto, these guys have been on a mission to transform our lives in radical ways in the last 2 years, but in 2024 in particular. They've been in a lot of communication with each other. Uranus trying to up level us, Chiron trying to get us to heal and be whole, operate in our teaching, guidance, and leadership side. Neptune trying to wash away anything that does not serve us. And Pluto here trying to put an end to those things as well. Having us really take a look at where we can step into greater personal power. What's interesting about this particular lunation, though, is that there's communication with Juno, who represents partnership, marriage, and equal give and take in alliances. She's in water sign Scorpio. And Scorpio specifically deals with confronting our fears, stepping into that personal power and transformation. We also see Mars as one of the ancient governors of Scorpio in retrograde, speaking to this new moon. Sorry, full moon in Cancer. With that, I would say that this full moon is going to give us an opportunity in the first month of the year to really take a look at some of our past emotional connections with others. And I'd say with others specifically because Juno deals with partnerships. Emotional connections, that's Cancer, with others, that's Juno, and how we'd like to change some of these things for the elevation of our love lives on the whole, but also our emotional health and well-being as well. Some of us may also, with Mars retrograde, in the way that Mars is retrograde, receive a strong check on certain actions and behaviors and the way they have made other people feel. With Mars going into Cancer, we may also provide that check for other people. Like, I know you probably didn't mean to make me feel this way, but here's the impact of your actions and behaviors in our partnership, in our alliance. So I would say this is a very interesting new moon for all of us when it comes to really coming into emotional truth and congruence, not new moon, full moon. Full moon. When it comes to stepping into emotional truth and congruence, as we get into the first full moon of the year. This one is going to ask us to really pay attention to what it is, put our money where our mouth is when we say we want to change. It's going to ask us to put our money where our mouth is and be the change that we want to see in our lives, and in particular in our connections. We do see this full moon is high water, high cardinal. Cardinal's about new beginnings. Water is about emotions, truth, and intuition, emotional truth and intuition. So it's giving us, this full moon is giving us an opportunity to really and truly put 2024 behind us in terms of any patterning we may have had that's out of alignment and agreement with our emotional truth, so that we can start to live a life that is far more aligned with what it is we want to see, live, and experience for ourselves in 2025, especially when it comes to our partnerships. Okay, great full moon in Cancer to look forward to. Really excited about that. If you heard something that resonates, hit that like button. And if you could use some support, there are sessions available in the early parts of January, 30-minute sessions in particular. So if you'd like to get some support, I can definitely do that for you. Just book with me over at kmoonastro.com. Happy birthday, Capricorn and Aquarius. Can't wait to see y'all for our first lunar update, this full moon in Cancer, in a few days' time. You guys take care and bye for now.